Welcome to TMZ Live. Charles here.
And Babcock here.
We have some really shocking news about a very young, talented actress who passed away this morning in New York City. Michelle Trachtenberg, at just 39 years old, was found dead in her apartment in New York City. And it is obviously a stunning piece of news for Hollywood. But the fact that she was so young is what's shocking to people. But we've done some digging here and found out some things that she's been going through that may shed some light on this. But obviously, we should say Michelle, the star of Gossip Girl.
Right.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Euro Trip. I remember her watching as a kid, Charles.
Yeah.
Many very successful TV shows and movies.
Has been acting almost nonstop since she was a very young child.
Right. I mean, she had a really good career.
Incredible career. But she had been dealing with some health issues recently, and we don't know yet. Officially, the police are saying at this point that they believe this to be natural causes, but we've now found out some other things that she was going through that shed some light here, including a surgery that she had recently, is the way it was described to us. We're trying to find out exactly when this happened at this point.
Right, and I think we're safe to say that she had a liver transplant within the last year. And there's questions now, obviously, of whether or not that liver transplant, if her body had suffered complications from it. Law enforcement sources that we've spoken to imply that maybe her body might have rejected that recent surgery. So that's something that they're looking at. But this does appear to be, as of now, a natural death. We've also spoken to people close to her who tell us that she was out on the town in New York City as early as last Thursday, out with friends. She went to an Italian restaurant down in Soho. So within the last week, she was in good enough condition to leave her apartment and go out and spend time with friends.
Right, that's pretty shocking, right? I mean, you would think if somebody was in such bad condition that they would die less than a week later.
That she was
be able to actually go out.
And we should say at the point we're doing this now, it's only been about 4 or 5 hours since she was found. So it's still early. It's clearly early in the investigation and early just trying to piece together what happened here. There were more recently some photos that she had posted on social media. Fans felt like she was gaunt or frail.
Right.
And Michelle did not hesitate to respond to some of those comments, saying, look, I'm not the child star that you grew up watching, and I'm a 39-year-old woman now. This is what I look like. Stop trying to say that I should look like I did when I was in my, in my
17 years
teens
old.
and in my 20s.
Right.
So she was aware that people had these feelings, but she said that she was healthy. That she was fine.
Right. That would have obviously been an opportunity if she wished to share if something was wrong, where she could have told her fans that, but she didn't.
I think another layer of sadness to this is the fact that it was Michelle's mother who found her unresponsive this morning in her apartment and made the call to police and paramedics.
And obviously 39 is a very young age, so this for many around her was shocking. I spoke to her publicist this morning, her longtime publicist, who was just learning the news at the same time as us. A lot of her co-stars, former co-stars, are now starting to speak out. Ed Westwick, Rosie O'Donnell, all shocked by this news. We're starting to get video in now from the scene on the Upper West Side where she was found this morning unresponsive and then later pronounced dead. Neighbors are saying that they are shocked by the news. She was a very nice woman. So this is really shocking and really rocking everyone right now.
Hi, my name is Elise, and I'm from Harvest, Alabama. I think it's really sad and heartbreaking to hear of her passing. I remember watching Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire with my mom and my sister, and still continuously watching reruns with them to this day. And it just really shows that you never know what famous people are going through these days and the situations that they could be going on behind closed doors.
Yeah. You just don't know. And in this case, Michelle might not have known, depending on what was happening with her in the days leading up to this really stunning news this morning. All right. We will obviously, any updates we have on that, we will bring it to you while we're here doing the show. We're going to move on now to another stunning announcement for the Menendez brothers. And I think renewed hope for them that they could be getting out of prison within, I would say, a few months, to use Governor Gavin Newsom's words. A few months is what he says it will take to complete what he calls a comprehensive risk assessment. He has ordered this investigation to start, and the Board of Parole here in California will be doing this. And he says this is to evaluate if the Menendez brothers are to get out of prison, would they be a risk at all to society? He says the first step, and there is no guarantee of an outcome here, but really what he has done is sped up this whole process. We've been telling you that there's going to be a resentencing hearing next month where a judge would determine whether or not to resentence them. And if the judge said yes, then it would go to the Board of Parole.
Right. And then they would do this, essentially the same investigation,
They do the same thing, and then it would go to the governor's office for
Right.
him to sign off yay or nay.
So we've just skipped that.
Exactly.
He's X'd out the judge.
He's essentially made that resentencing hearing not really necessary because regardless of if the judge agrees that they should be resentenced, then they're already doing it.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Exactly. So this speeds up the process. Here is what some of what he said this morning about this investigation and why he says it is absolutely essential before he can make any decision.
I've directed the Board of Parole hearings to do what we call a risk assessment investigation into their applications specifically for commutation. The question for the board is a rather simple one. Do Eric and Lyle Menendez, do they pose a current, what we call unreasonable risk to public safety? We're going to make the findings, by the way, available to the judges presiding over the resentencing motion in LA Superior Court, as well, of course, to the district attorney himself. There's no guarantee of outcome here. My office conducts dozens and dozens of these clemency reviews on a consistent basis, but this process simply provides more transparency, which I think is important in this case, as well as provides us more due diligence before I make any determination for clemency.
You know, what's interesting here is this path has always existed. The governor has extraordinary powers like a president with clemency, and what he's looking at is the risk of public safety, which is the strongest case the Menendez brothers have because they've had an exemplary prison record. You know, they've done a lot of programs with other prisoners and so forth. If you take the focus on whether the abuse happened and what they did to their parents, their case does look much stronger. So in a way, the governor is tipping his hand that he wants to move that process along, and it seems like it's because that's the strongest case they have for getting out, but he wants the parole board to give him some cover as to why he would let them out.
And I think most people probably agree that they don't pose a risk to society once they're out. It's the egregiousness of the crime that they have committed.
That's the part that people have gotten hung up on, people who say they shouldn't get out because it was an absolutely heinous crime, and they admit that.
Right.
So if you get past that, then it's... If you get, and I know that's a big thing to get past, but legally speaking, at this point, this risk assessment is going to look at whether they are a risk to society.
They haven't gotten in trouble in prison.
What have they done in prison? Now, we've been told, our sources connected to this case said that one of the things that people in the governor's office saw was the Menendez brothers, Eric and Lyle, were on the Two Angry Men podcast talking to Harvey and to Mark Garagos, their attorney, about their life in prison and about things, programs that they've gotten involved in. One in particular, you're going to hear them talking about it here in this clip, involves a hospice program that they set up for inmates and several other things they've done. This is what we're told really struck a chord with the governor's office.
I started a hospice program right here, a life care and hospice, where we talk about growing older, the struggles that you have in dealing with disability and with life-limiting illnesses. I want to and fully intend to be working with that community, and I want to continue the AVP program, the Alternative to Violence program that we're doing in here. I want to do that out there. But the primary focus for me is the childhood trauma community. I want to be an advocate for people that are suffering in silence.
So, you know, there's reason to believe that people in the governor's office feel that they at least warrant this getting in front of the Board of Parole.
I'll tell you what, Charles, I know we got to move on. I am shocked that Newsom has taken this on because it's such a polarizing case. And
it is a political hot potato.
And if he has aspirations of running for president, like a lot of people think he does, it's shocking to me. On
the other hand, and again, as he said, there's no guarantee of outcome when it gets to his desk. If he were to decide that, yes, they should be released.
Yeah.
Clearly, I would think because of that, the political side of it, he has strong convictions and believes in what they're doing.
Right.
But again, that's months down the road. He said it's going to take a few months for this risk assessment, and then the Board of Parole, and then it gets to the governor's office. So, but like you said, there's reason for hope for the Menendez brothers.
Johnny Benitez, Brooklyn, New York. I think this risk assessment is one step closer to getting the Menendez brothers out of prison. But I do wonder if this Board of Parole will have some sort of bias when doing this review and be holding against them the motive that the Menendez brothers, Eric and Lyle, had when they murdered their parents that day. It's kind of hard to ignore it. They become celebrities out of this entire thing. And I'm curious to see how that will play out, because yes, this is like an easy way for them to get out now, but will everybody fall in line besides the governor, right? But what do you guys think?
No, that is an excellent point, that it is entirely possible that maybe the risk assessment isn't positive.
Right.
Maybe the and even if it is, the Board of Parole could say, we still don't want to let them out.
You get a couple people that say no, and they're not getting out.
And then, well, the governor could
he
still
could
at that point
sentence.
commute their sentence, but that would be him stepping out
really
on a limb on his
there.
own. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Monica Lewinsky goes on the Call Her Daddy podcast and goes after not just Bill Clinton, you probably expect that, but there's someone else that she holds a grudge against, someone in late night, and she has not forgotten all those jokes. Well, President Clinton had no business staying in office after the Monica Lewinsky scandal came out, and that comes from Monica Lewinsky. Not shockingly, that is her opinion. One of the things that she shared when she went on the Call Her Daddy podcast. And, Monica has spoken out after there was the Ryan Murphy series. She's spoken out a lot recently about her harsh feelings about Bill Clinton.
It had a huge impact on her career, to say the least, right?
Well, she says destroyed her
her
path.
life. Really.
And she's, obviously trying to come back from that now, but she clearly still holds that grudge.
All these years later.
There's someone else that she thinks about frequently, someone who was not directly involved in the scandal, but someone who spoke a lot about the scandal. Look, and I know you're going to hear what she says here in a second. She's singling out this person. My memory of it is there were a lot of people in late night who were making these jokes. But for whatever reason, this particular host stands out to Monica.
Very sadly, it was a lot of women who said worse things about me than the men. The men told a lot of jokes, right? So the late night hosts. I think when Jay Leno retired, some media boop-de-boop, whatever organization, had done a study and listed the top 10 targets, his top 10 targets of his late night show. And I was on that list. And I was the only person who wasn't a public figure.
Charles, I remember.
So she yes, I remember.
David Letterman, I mean, everybody on
But
television.
maybe that study, clearly, whoever conducted that media bippity-boop, as she put it, that study really, it stuck with her upon reading that.
It sounds like Jay is the one she remembers as being responsible
and remember, Jay Leno was at the top of his game during this time, and he only went after one non-famous celebrity, and that was her. I mean, obviously jokes about the blue-stained dress and all that. She totally got dragged through the mud, but it absolutely ruined her career. She talked about how it ruined her dating life. She couldn't get a job after the whole affair scandal, and how she really had to rise from the ashes. And now here we are in 2025, where she's being embraced and listened to a little bit more than she did back in the 90s.
Well, I think what's happening is that there's a Gen Z is discovering all that happened, right? And with good reason, having a lot of sympathy for Monica.
Right. Things have changed. She also has a podcast coming out herself.
Right.
Look, I totally understand being mad at Bill Clinton, obviously. But Jay Leno, it's his job to make jokes. And it was the biggest thing in pop culture, the biggest thing in politics, the biggest thing in the world at the time, right?
That's what late night hosts do.
What is he going to do?
They make jokes about pop culture and what's going on. But obviously being in the top 10 list did
Right.
not, because that was a top 10 list
Right,
she
that's
did
a-
not want to be on.
Right, that's a David Letterman thing, too.
Hey, it's Toria in Detroit, and I feel Monica Lewinsky and like feeling some way about Jay Leno. At that time, it was probably was the biggest scandal. And yeah, it was going to be talked about in every late night show, daylight show, whatever, but people want to know. And so it was talked about. Even now, it's still talked about, but almost 30 years later. So I feel how she's feeling, but I mean, it was his job at the time.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're Monica Lewinsky, even today, if you go to see a stand-up comedy act, there's always a chance that somehow it's gonna come up and that there's gonna be a joke about it, and then suddenly you got to deal with that. But
it shows you how massive of a scandal it was that it's like 30 years later you can still make that joke.
Maybe you don't go to stand-up comedy shows.
Yeah, not if you're Monica Lewinsky.
All right, moving on now to new revelation about Matthew Perry's death, and we had known that the way it was described when they actually arrested the doctors and the other people involved in that drug ring, and they said that he had a massive dose of ketamine before his death.
Right.
Now there's a number that we can put to that, thanks to a Peacock documentary that explored everything that happened leading up to his death. And the number that they got from a source that they were talking to, was 27 shots in the final 3 days before his death. They said Perry would receive 27 shots of ketamine. That's a lot.
It started therapeutically, Charles, seemingly, but that doesn't seem like any sort of therapeutic dose, right?
You'll recall that we knew that he was getting ketamine therapy.
Right.
And there were treatments that he was getting, but
under the care of doctors.
The gross part about this whole thing is obviously it was very well documented that he had, substance abuse issues, was an addict for a long time. So these dealers and these people close to him,
the doctors
that were, giving him access to this much ketamine, and in some instances actually being the ones who are administering it to him. And this high of doses is disgusting. I know some of them took plea deals and whatnot. I know some of them have actual trials upcoming in the next few months, and honestly, they should get the maximum sentence.
Yeah, I mean, that number I believe is just one of the doctors that is going for, one of the doctors and one,
Dr. Placentia
is going forward in a trial, but that number is not, if it comes up in the trial, doesn't look good in front of a jury.
No.
And you also got to remember that they got plea deals from the other people involved, including one of the doctors.
Yep.
You got to imagine that they are going to be testifying. And I believe Matthew's assistant is one of the people who took a plea deal as well.
Right.
They're probably going to be testifying against Placentia. So that is
Right. And we've seen some of those exchanges, Charles, between the doctors. It's not good. It's incredibly offensive and upsetting.
I mean, the doctors essentially knew that this guy had issues, and they were taking advantage of a super rich, wealthy guy.
Clear in those text messages.
Hi, my name is Charlotte. I'm from Queens, New York, and I think we need to start really holding these doctors more accountable. And we knew that he had issues with substance in the past. He should have been monitored more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, you can say he should have been monitored more closely. Certainly, the prescriptions, the giving him the drugs is one thing.
Right.
The monitoring is hard to say because at some point, and Matthew Perry would say this also, that the addict has to want to get help.
And they were under the care of a doctor. The doctors just were seemingly bad apples.
Yeah, that's certainly how it looks. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, you keep hearing this title. It keeps coming back. Fyre Fest. They are trying it again in just a couple of months. It is scheduled to go down, and Billy McFarland is still the guy who's running the show. He says this is going swimmingly. He's got a date. He's got a location. Still missing something very critical. He's going to be here to talk about it when we come back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall. Yeah.
It's TMZ.
Better late than never? That's one way to look at Fyre Fest. 8 years after the disastrous attempt at a music festival in the Caribbean, They are back with Fyre Fest 2. When I say they, I mean Billy McFarland, the guy who, as you know, was convicted of fraud and actually did time connected to the original Fyre Fest. But we've spoken to Billy, we spoke to him last year, and I admired his persistence in that he wanted to get this, to really have this concert happen. So Fyre Fest 2 is now set to happen. He's got a date, he has a location, although there may be some issues with the location. And he says things are moving forward. So will people show up? Will they buy the package? A year ago, he said there were people who were lined up and wanted to buy packages. So we're going to check in and see how they're doing, because this is coming up at the end of May. So joining us right now is Billy McFarland. Billy, welcome back to TMZ Live. How you doing?
Mike, Charles, how are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Hey, Billy.
We're good, man. So tell us, you're going to do, this is set to go down May 30th in Mexico. It's just south of Cancun, Isla Mujeres.
Isla Mujeres, yes, it's happening. We're 3 months out, and it's kind of scary to hear that it's been 8 months in the making. Quite the process, but finally putting this together, and excited to make this happen, and excited to have a great team to help me do this.
So there are all sorts of ticket packages that you can buy. Last time we spoke to you, we talked about the fact that there is a $1 million ticket package, you know, for the super ballers.
Right.
What are people getting with that? And has anyone actually bought that package yet?
We've only sold $1 million ticket. Maybe we'll sell a few more.
Okay.
But you sold one.
Yeah, we've sold one. Ultimately, people, I think, are really paying for the networking aspect of Fyre 2. The ones who are resonating so far, they're the entrepreneurs, the content creators. I think the people who are trying to take a different path and take a risk. So what I'm most excited about, if I'm allowed to travel and actually go, are meeting the people who took this chance. And I think that unique group of people are what's going to make Fyre 2 this special moment of time.
Has it been hard, Billy, to sell tickets, given obviously everything that happened with Fyre 1?
It's just so much different from the first Fyre. I think I have very little ability to convince somebody to come to Fyre 2, which was kind of a hard thing to learn. But in reality, I think people are coming to be part of the moment. They're coming because you have a great festival producer who does some of the better events in Mexico. So yeah, really excited to meet the ones who do take this chance and take the risk. And I think this group is going to be quite the weekend.
So Billy, I don't want to knock your abilities as a salesman. And like I said, I do admire your persistence in trying to get this off the ground. But you keep talking about the risk, and that's not really a great way to get people to sign on, right? But I will say you're being honest, because the thing we haven't talked about yet is the fact that, at least as far as I've seen, you don't have any artists lined up yet. So you're telling people to buy tickets when they have no idea who is going to be performing at this thing, if anyone is going to be performing, because that was the issue with the first Fyre Fest.
Isn't it kind of wild that a music festival has this much buzz with no actual music artists? So maybe the marketing plan is working, but I think you guys have to have me back on when we actually announce the talent.
Billy, Billy, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. You're describing exactly what happened the first time when you ended up going to prison for it. Are you worried that if this doesn't come together, that there are going to be consequences for you?
The biggest difference this time is that there is a real festival company actually operating Fyre Festival. So I have fun coming on here and talking to you guys, and I have fun, hopefully swimming with the whale sharks and getting people to get outside their comfort zone. But there are real music professionals doing this. We do have real artists. They'll be announcing them professionally, and I'm just trying to stir the pot and hopefully have a couple of really fun people who understand that life ultimately is about getting outside of your comfort zone and taking risks. And I'd love to meet those people at Fyre 2.
So Billy, do you guys, and I understand you're not going to say it right now, but do you actually all have some artists booked, but we just haven't announced it yet?
Correct. We have artists booked.
Would you give us one?
I wish I could, but let me get comfortable here.
How about a hint that describe what decade is this, or was their heyday, this performer?
There's a great current DJ, and she is going to lead a whale shark excursion during the day and then perform at night. So excited to announce her.
All right, a current
female DJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I just, look, that is the risk here. Yep. You keep saying you want people to buy. So you've sold $1 million package. How are sales going otherwise at the lower levels?
They're going well. I think we'll see how long they last. Ultimately, the partners are going to decide when to call it off. But what's really important is that the island is small. We've bought out a couple of hotels on the island. We have a great private venue. So we're trying to keep it as boutique and small as possible. So in the next coming days, we'll figure out when we're going to call it quits and welcome everybody who did decide to come to Fire and keep that as the final group.
Two other questions, Bill. Permits.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have proper permits? And also, what's the food going to be like?
Okay, so two great questions and similar answer. We have a local production company and then also a hospitality company that owns a number of hotels on the island and also the venue. So they're in charge of all the permits and logistics. However, the hotels, they're all inclusive, but they're like actually 5-star hotels and they do have great food. They pitched me on their food concept. Part of it was not letting me get anywhere near it, but the second part is actually pretty cool. So the food's pretty good.
Okay, so no.
You should offer the sandwich. Just
no cheese sandwiches.
Yeah, there will be cheese sandwiches. We'll see. I think we got to make them like super expensive.
Billy, real quick, you mentioned that you might not be able to go. Have you, because of the criminal conviction, have you had conversations? What is the prospects that you actually will get to actually participate in the festival?
It's kind of crazy. I need permission to leave the state of New York. Unfortunately, Isla Mujeres is considered leaving the state of New York, so I have to file travel permission. And that's not up to me. We're obviously going to give it our best shot. And ultimately, I'm doing Fire to pay back restitution for Fire 1. So hopefully that aspect will result in a yes. But yeah, I can't promise I'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to tell the probation officer, look, I'm on the hook for $26 million.
Right. Let me go make it.
let me go make some of it.
I'm not going to make it in McDonald's in New York, so I got to take a chance.
All right. Well, it is a gamble. We will see how it turns out for you, for the people who are buying tickets. I would say you actually have more on the line than they do. I hope this comes together for you, Billy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Charles. And I'm sure we'll call you guys June 2nd. So I'll let you know how it went.
All right, Billy. Rolling the dice, man. Just rolling the dice. Everyone involved there.
I think it's, as I thought about it, it's more of an attraction because good or bad, people want to just be part of it, right? Knowing what happened the first time.
Right. And
right? It's like, even if it doesn't come together, you want to have a ticket to it.
Okay. It's your view. When we come back, Travis Kelce talking about recovering from that day, that Sunday thing that happened, the disastrous loss in the Super Bowl. He is actually getting over it, and there's someone who's helping him do it, but maybe not in the way you thought she would. Welcome back to TMZ Live. The big question, we talked about it earlier this week, is Travis Kelce done playing football? Yeah. Is he ready to just ride off into the sunset with Taylor Swift? Here's maybe a little hint.
Yeah, I think so.
So obviously he and his brother Jason did their New Heights podcast, and he talked about trying to get over the Super Bowl loss. What was that team that beat him?
I don't remember. Some kind of bird.
Something.
Yeah.
Yes. The Eagles. We're just messing with Reagan, who wants us to say Eagles like 800 times. We're not going to do it. But yes,
it was a thrashing, Charles. It was dominant.
Thrashing.
Yeah.
How do you get over that? Travis is trying to, which to me indicates he is going to come back. But here is how Taylor Swift has helped him recover from that devastating blowout loss, to the Eagles.
Do you listen to sad music when you're depressed, or do you listen to happy music?
Jason, the only way you can find yourself in the light is to find yourself in the dark first.
Right.
I listen to music that is very telling of my mood, yes.
I go to like sad country songs.
Yeah, I just listen to Taylor's music. She has something for everything.
That's fair. That's a good point.
I hope he was just saying that just to promote his girlfriend. Right?
I hope so.
I hope he was just saying it and he doesn't actually do that.
That was cringe from that corny quote to the...
I only listen to Taylor's music? That cannot possibly be true.
Something of everything.
Well, the question is, too, is he throwing on the iPod or is he like, hey, Tay, can you give me Cowboy Like Me real quick?
Oh, you think he's requesting in person, sing this?
Is this a microphone set up in the living room?
This is a friendly reminder, though, that Travis really was a Swiftie before he ever dated Taylor. He was a big fan of the 1989 album, so I'm guessing he's listening to Blank Space. But Babcock, you saw The Fall Guy, right? He's probably in his car listening to All Too Well, the 10-minute version, and just letting it out.
He was a fan. I mean, that's how they got together, remember? Yeah. He wanted to go to her show. He had the bracelets.
Yeah, so he's really about it. He's really about that Swiftie life. He knows all the songs, all the sad ones. He's probably got a playlist specifically for the sad ones, the upbeat ones, the in the middle. Yeah, he's got this all figured out.
I'm sorry, but we got to go back to this quote. That quote had to come from her, right? That's not... You only find yourself in the light if you find yourself in the darkness.
You know oh God, I'm deep. I'm such a deep thinker.
That's like on memes.com or something. Inspirationalquotes.com.
Really. What app told him that?
All right, well, it either came from Instagram or from Taylor.
Yeah.
But if it works for him, great.
Yeah,
and again, I think he's definitely coming back.
I do too. Right, the GM we had yesterday, Charles, now we've got this. He's coming back.
You don't use a quote like that unless you're coming back.
Hi, my name is Dariella Marie from Orlando, Florida, and Taylor Swift has a song for everything, including for when Travis eventually retires. I just wonder if he's been listening to her song that she's made about the Eagles.
Oh, she did a song about the Eagles?
She's mentioned them before, yes. Gold Rush.
Oh, I remember it. It was
what is it?
Yeah, Gold Rush, exactly, like she said.
Right, somebody definitely did not tell us that. He's just that big of a fan.
Yeah, no, I know Gold Rush, of course. Anyway, the Gold Rush did happen for the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's not playing that song. Not that one.
No, not that.
All right, moving on now to a really puzzling thing in the music world, and that is Drake not referencing, well, I guess maybe it is related to the Kendrick.
Yeah, a lot of people are not buying his reason, Charles.
Maybe it's related to the Kendrick beef, but Drake has abruptly pulled up stakes in Australia and gotten out of town, gotten out of the country.
Yeah.
This is really puzzling because he'd been having a successful run down in Australia, sold out shows. He still had several more shows to go in Australia and New Zealand, and they were also sold out. So this isn't about ticket sales, but he announced that he is postponing the remainder of those shows in Australia and New Zealand. He says that he will make them up, but that's it. And this isn't a health thing because he was seen around Brisbane, like out partying until 4 a.m. So it can't be that.
Right, where one of the shows was scheduled to be, by the way.
Right.
I've seen some speculation online, don't know how true this is, but that these last remaining dates that he's canceled, he had an issue with the timing and the spacing of these dates. Basically, he was going to have like 10 to 12 idle days in Australia, and he just felt like he was going to be wasting money if he did so. So he's going to reschedule these dates that are closer to, obviously, he's still thriving. He just hit several of his Hot 100 records. He got them back in the charts because of this new album he just dropped. The album's doing well. People are not really talking about, Drake losing this rap beef with Kendrick. So I think there might be a little to the speculation with him just wanting to time it out a little bit better.
A rep for Drake told us that there was an issue with moving the equipment from the sets and all the equipment.
Set pieces.
From one city to
It
another.
was Brisbane, then Sydney, and then going to Auckland about 10 or so days later.
The only thing that seems odd about that is they had been able to move all that equipment from Perth to Melbourne earlier in the tour.
Right.
So I'm not sure what changed behind the scenes, why they can't move that equipment now. But in any event, Australia, which had embraced him, really seemed to be ignoring any of the buzz around the beef.
When Kendrick was on the stage, speaking of the Super Bowl, when Kendrick was there doing the Super Bowl, he was in Australia.
Australia opened their arms to him.
They did.
And now
I'm in here for a big hug, Drake.
No. Is that one of the songs? Give me a hug.
Probably.
Give me a hug. Yeah.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Alicia Scott from Chicago, Illinois, and it's disappointing to hear Drake pulling the plug on so many tour dates. Many people save up and look forward to concerts for months, but luckily he's refunding the tickets, but that's the bare minimum. Going on with all this discourse going on with Drake, I think at this time, the smartest thing for him to do is stay out of the tabloids, especially for things that can be avoided.
Well, there's going to be buzz about this one, but he says he'll be back. All right, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, Kyle Richards talking about her separation from Mauricio. Maybe things aren't over, at least the way she's viewing it. This is really stunning and vulnerable of her to put herself out like this. You're going to hear what she says about the possibility of them patching things up. Well, Harvey's not here, so I'm going to use his favorite phrase. You would say that Mauricio Umansky's been out living his best life, right? I mean, that's what we see. Aside from the skiing accident and, breaking, I think he broke his clavicle. But
it looks like,
aside from that, he has been, seems like the single life has been lots of fun for him.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Kyle Richards is taking a different view on this. And while you might look at Mauricio's life and say, they're done. Like, he's moved on.
Yeah.
even though neither of them has said the D word. They're not filing for divorce yet.
No.
But Kyle actually opened up on the latest episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She was talking to a life coach about the possibility of getting back together with Mauricio. It sounds like she's all for it. In fact, it's almost sounds like it's the only option she's given herself at this point.
It's like, are you getting divorced? Are you getting divorced? I mean, everybody asks me that. I think I'm anxious. I'm getting impatient. I'm impatient because I want to know what my life's going to be. I think it's different for men, you know? I mean, he's just going to live his best life. He's happy as a little,
but why can't you
happy
do that?
little camper.
Why can't you live your best life?
I know I can. I guess it's just, there's a little part of me that thinks, okay, say I move on with somebody new.
Mm-hmm.
And then what if he's like, okay, I went and showed my wild to whatever that is, that expression is, and, you know,
I don't want to come back.
Yeah. I don't know what's more sad, that if he didn't want to fight for me, or if he wanted to and didn't know how. Either way, he didn't. I'm starting to feel like I need to really move on.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
that was incredibly bold.
For her to admit that she would take him back.
Right. And that she says she's scared to move on, Charles, in the event that he decides he wants to get back with her. That's the way I took that. That's a shocking thing to hear.
Look, they were together for so long. I get that she wouldn't be able to just let go like that.
No.
But to admit
but Charles,
that,
they've been broken up and separated for almost 2 years now. And the fact that she still can't move on is like waiting on hope. It was so sad. She's been terrible this entire season. And this is the first time she like hit with all like the viewers again. And you felt so bad for her because she is just stuck and she doesn't know what to do. And you want her to move on. She deserves it. She's very hot, but she can't. She loves Mauricio still.
Yeah, there's no other way to look at that. I mean,
I feel so
she's
bad
in love
for
with
her.
him. I do too. That's a horrible feeling. And like Courtney said, it's been 2 years. It's not like it's been 2 months.
Courtney, you know, last season she was saying like she didn't want to talk about this anymore and she didn't want this to play out for the cameras. But that's why I'm really stunned that she said that much on camera.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is the most she opened up. And she also said that Mauricio actually told her that he was scared that he couldn't be alone, but just recently that he told her he's great by himself. And she was like, that was heartbreaking to know like that was his only fear, that he couldn't be by himself, and now he's doing great. She was like, I don't even know like where to go anymore. And she said that the marriage was her most like proudest moment in her entire life. She was so happy to be married for so long. She didn't have that growing up, and she always wanted to provide that for her kids, but now she can't, and she doesn't know what to do.
Hi, I'm Sam from Jersey. I actually enjoyed Kyle and Mauricio as a couple a lot, and I was really surprised 2 years ago when this whole thing came about that she didn't want to talk about the reasons. Now we know it seems like he was just him all alone. He wanted to go live that single life, and now she's suffering for it. I feel really bad, and I hope they find happiness somewhere else.
I mean, he seems to be finding it.
Yeah.
Who knows if that changes for him, but I really hope that Kyle, like...
I do too. She has the ability.
You always hear people say this, and I always go like, oh, that's just a crass thing, kind of like what Travis said. But sometimes the best way to get over someone is to get with someone else.
She's capable of having fun. She's a beautiful woman. I mean, plenty of men, lined up to date someone like her.
Indeed.
You've got
all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively mudslinging has reached another level, a new high, a new low, depending on your perspective. What Justin's side is saying about Blake's efforts to get a protective order while this legal battle is playing out. Silence is golden. That's what Blake Lively would like as this legal battle is playing out with Justin Baldoni.
Yeah.
She had requested a protective order that would essentially serve to stop some of the details coming out as this legal battle plays out. But Justin's team says, slow down. There's only one reason she wants this, and I think this is only going to ratchet up the rhetoric between them.
Yeah.
Justin's side is saying she only wants this protective order because her image is tarnished now, that they're basically saying, look, she's losing this PR battle.
Yeah.
So, of course, she wants all the talk to stop.
Right.
But Justin's side has said, look, we're okay with this protective order. Some of it, we don't want super secrecy because they want the right to defend Justin's image because they feel like she and her team went after him.
New York
and
Times
he's just fighting
article,
back now.
right?
Yeah, I mean, this also comes from the fact that like Ryan and Blake have also like SNL 50 is a good example of this. They made light of the situation. They brought attention to it, and they've added fuel to the fire themselves too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in fact, they said that in their response to her request for this protective order. They said, how can they want a protective order when they're out making jokes on SNL?
And then, don't make no mistake, that is helpful to them. It makes them look like, hey, we're cool. We're not letting this affect us too much. I think the rules have to apply to both sides. If Justin's side's going to have to be quiet, then Blake's got to be quiet too, and so does Ryan.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Gina from Fort Lauderdale. And, as they always say, where there's smoke, there's fire. I do think she is trying to protect her image. The sad thing about this whole situation is the book was amazing. It was a true story of someone's personal struggle with abuse. And, their actions of both of them, I think they've taken away from that message. So I hope it gets resolved. I hope the truth comes out. But I definitely think she is trying to protect her image.
Yeah. The truth coming out, I don't know.
No, I don't know either. And you're right. The movie's a complete after.
I've smelled settlement all along. We'll see.
You think
What else you guys want to talk about?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany. I will be commenting on the Michelle story. It's a very unfortunate situation that happened to her. She was very young, and it was very sad how people were, commenting mean stuff under her social media account. I don't know what people go through, but it's a very unfortunate situation, and rest in peace to her.
Yeah, it is sad that her last interactions with fans were of a negative nature. One more.
Hi, I'm Chris Jones from Tampa, Florida, and I'm talking about the Governor Newsom's risk assessment on the Menendez trial. And even though, yes, I do think that this is a right step in the direction, I understand that. But after 34 years, I feel like, the Menendez brothers, they deserve their freedom. Their case was rooted in years of abuse, and they've shown real growth, and it's time for the justice system to really finally give them a second chance.
Well, the governor's doing everything to make sure they at least get that chance. We'll see what the parole board decides, and ultimately, Governor Newsom. Okay, going to take a break. When we come back, Niecy Nash taking you behind the scenes with Kim Kardashian and the rest of the cast on All's Fair. This is the where they're playing attorneys. Kim's a divorce attorney. Let's see how she does playing an attorney when we come back. Looks good from here. I think you're going to agree with me. We need to upgrade our lawyers around this office. Because Kim Kardashian and Niecy Nash and the cast of All's Fair, starring in an all-female law firm specializing in divorce, and Niecy Nash posted this just to let you know what it's like on set.
I'm in a clip gang. You see it? Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Clips. Gang, gang.
Very shiny.
You are very shiny and greasy. Where's my grease? Now I got to go get grease. What, you got grease?
I got grease. It's natural.
How come I don't have grease? Okay, this is it. What kind of gang are we?
I think we got to grease up Beckerman and Derek and just kidding. I can't. It hurt me to say that. It hurt
I'm
to say
good
that.
on that. Let's leave them as they are. I certainly don't want them in anything that low cut. We will see you tomorrow.